Sigma 24 to 70, a 4 years old universal walk-around zoom 24 to 70. Its full name is 24 to 70, 2.8 DGD and 82 millimeters thread size. And I wanted to look at this lens because there's not many lenses in this focal range. And there's a lot of new lenses coming out all the time, but 2470 somehow like not that many. You have like the old G Master, 4 years older than this one. You have this one, 4 years old already, and you have new G Master that is way more expensive. Of course, it's lighter and smaller and better, but double the price. So let's look at Sigma. Is it still worth picking up in 2024? This is the question we are going to answer today. So let's get straight into that and let's talk about build quality. Build quality. If I try to roll this lens cap for longer, I would never achieve this effect. Anyways, build quality is fantastic as we are used with Sigma. So we have this weather sealing here. The gasket is not that deep, but it's pretty firm, pretty solid. So it's basically weather sealed. The ring, focal length ring, is fantastic. It works very smooth, and the focus ring works great. We have autofocus, manual focus switch. We have programmable button, and we have a lock that prevents from this thing going down. But this lock is very interesting because if you push, it will unlock automatically, so it only prevents it from sliding out. So that's a brilliant solution, believe me, because you don't have to remember about unlocking it. It will unlock automatically. Beautiful thing. Thank you, Sigma. I want to see that everywhere in zoom lenses. Okay, so build quality, not much to say. It's about 800 grams, so it's not the lightest one, but it's okay as for that bright of a walk-around zoom. Okay, let's talk about image quality. When it comes to sharpness, in the middle, as you may expect, nothing has changed since its release. It's sharp. So it's sharp in the center since an f2.8, f4, f5.6, the sharpest it gets, it's f9, f11, but at f2 you can see for yourself it's sharp enough. In corners the sharpness drops, but that is not a problem to me because I prefer practical tests of those lenses. So in practical terms, at f2.8 you never care about corners. You want blurry background behind the face or behind the object you're taking photos of. So basically that's not a big deal to me. And if you want a sharp performance both for 24 and 70, you just have to stop it down, and that's pretty obvious, and there's no big deal here. Where the big deal is though, is that it has a lot of distortion. So there's a barrel effect on 24 millimeters and there's a pincushion effect on 70 millimeters. On 24 millimeters, this barrel distortion, what is even worse, does have this wavy look, or as they call it, a mustache effect. So that's not ideal because even using the built-in lens profile corrections, you still may experience a little bit of distortion, which is important for those people that take photographs of interiors and architecture. Something to keep in mind. Talking about sharpness, we have to mention vignetting. Vignetting is pretty big on this lens. So at f2.8, it is really big on both sides, on 24 millimeter side of thing and 70 millimeter side of thing. And what bothers me, because in most cases, I don't care about vignetting because it can be removed in post-production easily, and it's just gone. Like one click, bomb. There's no vignetting. Here, it's big enough to have the problem even after using lens correction, so you may experience a little bit of dark corners. I never release a test of lens, or in most cases I don't release test of lens until I used it professionally on work. So my wife actually took it for a professional photo session on the yacht here in southern Portugal. Beautiful cruise along the caves. Clients ordered photos on the yacht, and this is what my wife did. She took this 2470 as a universal soldier just to help me with test and use it for her work. And as you can see in sky, you get vignetting that is not gone even after turning on the image correction direction. So this is something to keep in mind. But other than that, sharpness is very good. Autofocus performance, you can take a look at yourself, is very good. And when this lens was released, A7 III was the thing. And A7 III had this little of a breathing effect, pump effect, whatever you want to call it. But now when you plug it into A7 IV, when you put it on A7 Mark IV, it does have lens breathing compensation, so the breathing thing is pretty much gone. So that's a good news. Autofocus performance is very good. When we are talking about autofocus, let's talk about manual focus. Focus breathing on this lens is pretty much non-existent, which is a great news for those of you that are looking for universal soldier, not too expensive and pretty bright for video work. The other thing I want to talk about is night performance in the night. So stars are pretty nice and consistent on f11 at like opened to f2.8. The contrast drops a little bit and it gets like a little bit of messy lens flaring and, you know, a little bit of visual mess, what you can see on some of the night shots with this, you know, night light in the frame. However, in general, for night shots, it's not a bad lens. I would highly recommend to stop it at least a little bit to maybe 3.2, 4.0, where the contrast is like full out there. Anyways, that's a good performer. In general, for photo walks, for work, this lens is a pleasure to use. So, for example, we took it to Cascais, which is a beautiful little town close to Lisbon, and I enjoyed this photo walk with this lens very much. You could see a little bit of chromatic aberration there in the trees, a little bit of bluish chromatic aberration, but there's nothing dramatic there. It also performs very well as macro lens, so not macro lens, but as a close-up lens. At 24 millimeters, you can go under 20 centimeters close to the object, and the object remains sharp, which you can see on the samples that you can see on the screen, basically. On 70 millimeters too, the look of the details is very good. Also, like out of the focus parts of the image are pretty nice, so it's good to separate the object from the background, and that's okay. Bokeh is not the greatest because at 2.8 it gets a little bit of tear effect and it gets a little bit messy in the corners, but stop down to f4 it gets back on a track, which is a little bit disappointing because this lens could perform a little bit better, but that's what we get. However, bokeh, it's not a bokeh master, but you don't expect 2470 universal zoom lens to be the bokeh master. However, as I said before, it redeems itself by the nice look of the, you know, blurry parts and good separation of the object from the background. So basically it can, you know, you can close your eyes a little bit or look away and you're fine. So now the question is it worth to buy this lens in 2024? I would say yes, because still G Master, despite all the promotions, the old one, the 4 years older one, is still bulkier, bigger, you know, heavier and more expensive. And the new G Master is lighter, smaller and better, but doubles the price. So basically, if you're looking at Sony E mount and if you want to save some buck and have universal 24-70 2.8, this is the only guy you are looking at. So in 2024, it's still worth buying in my opinion. Situation is a little bit different still on L mount, which this lens is available for too, because you have Panasonic, which is heavier, bigger, better and more expensive, but you have it, and you have super expensive Leica lenses, which I don't even look towards because I don't find them useful at all because they're just too expensive for my taste. However, having said that, still Sigma is a great purchase despite the fact that it was 4 years since it was released. And if you ask me, if I see the room, if I see the place for Sigma 2470 version 24-70 f2.8 version 2, I say yes, Sigma should release a slightly more expensive but little corrected lens, specifically with distortion in mind and with vignetting in mind. If that two things could be corrected and you would like pay, I don't know, like $500 more maybe, that would be something so yeah, spot on. But still, there's nothing like that on the market, so if you want 2470 that is not too expensive, performs well, and despite having some little optical issues here and there, it's very good all-rounder, then Sigma 2470 2.8 is a good choice still. If you guys liked my little review, please don't forget to leave comments below, thumbs up, stay subscribed, or subscribe if you haven't already, and I see you guys in the next recording on my channel. Cheers!